Global transformation yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another edition of your discursive program. It is Global Insight, proposed to you by Globus. And today we are analyzing global change, actually anchored by the expert club Globus. And it is often said that the future begins now, anchored in best practices and contemporary tools that analyze historical events, especially post world wars, whose effects still resonates today. Change remains the only constant, prompting the need to understand the past, scrutinize the present, and anticipate the future. Russian think tank International Group of Experts Globus therefore challenges global policymakers to critically examine reforms of the old world order to address current realities and ensure a more humane future. Notably, on August 30th, 2025, a significant exhibition took place in Congo, Brazzaville, organized by the Global Experts Club in collaboration with the governments of Congo, Brazzaville, and the Russian Federation. This event not only strengthened Moscow Brazzaville ties, but also provided a platform for Africa and countries in the global south, among others, to redefine their foreign policies and strategies, or maybe strategic engagement amid high stakes in the geopolitical arena. On the same date, notably, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with his Congolese counterpart, President Denis Sassou Nguesso, in China, emphasizing the cooperation with where Putin emphasized that the cooperation with the Congo is a key priority of Russia's African foreign policy. So, in this edition of Global Insight, a knowledge sharing program, we dive into the theme Global Transformation Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow. This discussion is crucial for promoting global peace and fostering diplomatic engagement in international relations. As we analyze ongoing global processes and leadership dynamics, we equally aim to understand how past events shape our present and how we can navigate the complexities of our evolving geopolitical landscape towards a constructive future. And together with our esteemed panel, we're going to enter into the in-depth analysis of this topic, which is very vital because it touches humanity. I quite remember a Russian writer in the person of Alexei Muratov, who said in his book, Change the World Together, and noted that the world is like a cinema where some are more privileged than others, but then with the concept of the global transformation bringing humanity at the fore, the international expert under the auspices of Globus has actually presented a platform for us to continue to analyze in fact how to bring possible solutions that meet the present realities of the world. After this break, I'll unveil the panel and we write off with the discussions. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm your host, Clarice Reader. Right away, we are going to uncover the panel, starting off by acknowledging the presence of Julia Berg, who is a political scientist and also founder of the Global Expert Club. It is of great importance that we welcome you this day on this edition of Global Insight, Julia, as we continue to bring forth constructive discussions that continue to shape today's world. You're welcome.
Hello, very happy to be a part of the program today and very happy to see the great panelists present in today's discussion. So I hope it will be a very interesting and productive one.
Indeed, we are looking forward to having an interesting program that will continue to widen the horizon of the people, not just in Russia, but around the global world. And that is why we're talking about globals or global transformation. Now we acknowledge another lady who is the president of BRICS International Forum, joining us right from India in the person of Purnima Anand. Welcome.
Thank you, Clarissa. It is really very big pleasure to join Globus and your channel, and it is promoting so many new world order and challenges which we were discussing from many years. Now it is greeting time to each other that we are successing in our programs and in our work.
Absolutely. What is vital for humanity? Let's stay in India this time around, acknowledging Professor Jagdish Khatri, who is an author, writer, and of course, a global analyst. Welcome to today's edition of Global Insight, Professor.
Namaskar. Thank you, madam, for this invitation. Gladys, madam, you are looking great in the African headgear. And thanks to Globus and Julia Work also for organizing such knowledge sharing platforms. I would only like to add that today, 5th September, in India, we are celebrating Teachers' Day. So my greetings to every one of you because there is so much to learn from everyone in life. Anybody who shares his experience or knowledge or wisdom is a teacher for us. And for every one of us, mother remains the first teacher throughout, and wife remains the last teacher till the end. So, namaskar and greetings to all the teachers.
Thank you so much, Professor, and of course, Happy Teachers Day. And I think this knowledge sharing platform is also a platform that is teaching the world how to react to the changes which are occurring at this moment. To Spain, we are being joined by Dr. Enrique Rufio, who is a journalist and doubles as a political analyst. Welcome to you.
Hello, my dear colleagues. I am very happy to be with you, starting this academic course with this great panelist from Europe, from Asia, from Africa, everybody together for, as Professor Jagdish told, we have to learn each other. So let's go.
Very important, and of course, and we will subsequently be joined by Professor David Monda, international relations expert and policy analyst, Kenyan actually, but he will be joining from the United States of America. Without much ado, we go to understand. Okay, welcome to you, Professor David Monda. It's a pleasure to have you on this platform today where we're talking about global change and how nations can capitalize on the realities to define their strategic positions.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure and looking forward towards having a good and well constructive discussions. Let me just write off with you, Professor Monda. First of all, we are going to enter into the contextual understanding of the topic, of course, global transformation, looking at yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Now, knowing that the world started with turbulence from the First, Second World War, and even to an extent we can mention even the Cold War, and today we are still facing turbulence in the 21st century. Tracing back, we'll see that to be able to understand the actual stakes, it is imperative to know the past. So from your own holistic perspective, Professor Monda, let's get an understanding on how these events which have happened in the past continue to shape today, and how we can envision a future that is actually very fertile for humanity.
I believe before we start to analyze the history, it's very important to premise our conversation around global transformation to what?
Absolutely.
Whose order will we be thinking about when we are thinking about the future? Because history is not just about what happened in the past. History is about what's happening now, and history is also about what will or could happen in the future. But having said that, we have to very much consider the context in which we understand global transformation historically, the histories of state formation for the different regions in the world, for the different countries. We need to understand historical legacies, how we choose to remember. And you mentioned an interesting context there where we addressed global transformation in a post World War II era, getting into the Cold War, right? This whole the Bretton Woods establishment and the reinforcement of American hegemony. Before that, we had a global transformation, a global order established under Pax Britannia, under the dominance of the British. And before that, you could think about possibly the French and the Spanish and Portuguese. But going forward, we had the Cold War, we had the competition and transformation or lack of transformation, this balance of competition of power between the East and the West. That framework collapsed with the disintegration of the Soviet Union, and the world transformed itself into a new order or disorder. There was no longer the two polar areas around the East and the West. And there was this sense of the global triumphalism of the liberal democratic order. And somehow, those in the West felt that post-Cold War, we could transform the globe to a neoliberal democratic order with global institutions premised on globalist and neoliberal ideals. We had a massive transformation in the post-1990s of hyper-globalization. And this particularly disenfranchised countries in the global south. We're thinking India, we're thinking many countries in Africa, South Asia, and Latin America. But we then find ourselves, in conclusion, in a current multipolar order where the global there's really no global hegemon, and this new global transformation has created an order, but it's also created a disorder at the same time. So by that I mean, as much as the US is a global hegemon, as we know with Trump, he's really moved into an American first position, meaning this is also very undefined and very contradictory in many instances. Is America first, does that mean non-interventionism? Is that neo-isolationism? Is that neoconservatism? Or a new, transformation of neoconservatism. So that is yet to be defined. But even as Trump, pulls America back from its interactions with global institutions and the global order, we also find a reemergence and a reappreciation of the global South within this context of global transformation. And here we see new centers of power around the global South, around BRICS, around developing countries, and a lot of countries that came into the fore in the post-World War II era. This being, major players like India, for example, South Africa, countries like Egypt, many of the players within BRICS, and of course, former powers like Russia, which are also very instrumental. So I guess in conclusion, I'm saying going forward, this global transformation really hasn't defined itself, but it definitely cannot be the old order of the Cold War of bipolarity. It seems to have morphed into a central element of multipolarity. But how do we then redefine this multipolarity?
Understand and answer practically in the course of this discursive programmer, Professor Munda. And I think we go to Julia Burke, who is the founder of Global Expert Club, and of course, having understood this global transformation, I think your introductory statement is going to answer some of the problematics which Professor Munda highlighted regarding the elements of global transformations, which seems to be more ambiguous or too ambiguous at this juncture of global confrontation and era of shifting alliances and realignments.
Yes, once again, I'm very happy to join the program that talks about global transformation, because in my understanding, it's one of the main issues to be thinking about right now, and ever since the beginning of the special military operation that marked a completely different era, especially, of course, and in the first place for the Russian Federation. It was quite clear that there would be a period of very high turbulence with an unexpected outcome. And this is exactly, I suppose, what Professor Monda was just talking about, because the transformation has not defined itself, but I would not really put it into passive form. And I don't think the transformation is able to actually define itself, but it will be defined by, let's say, the strongest trends and tendencies and the strongest forces at work. So this is exactly the key idea of the exhibition that was just opened in Congo, Brazzaville, and exactly the thinking that I had behind as the author of the exhibition. Almost a year ago, when the idea came about, it was all about trying to see what kind of trends we can observe at the moment, and trying to define and stimulate reflection on what the future could be looking like. And the answer over here is quite clear. What the future will be like depends to a great extent to how we want to shape it and how we act to shape it. So this is exactly why the main idea of the exhibition is yesterday, today, tomorrow, because in this yesterday we see a lot of turbulence, we see wars, we see controlled economic crises, we see local conflicts that reflect global ones, and in future we see contradictory trends. And the future depends on the choices that we make today.
Indeed, the future depends on the choices we make today, and that is why we had highlighted in the preamble that it is imperative to understand the past and, of course, analyze the present and envision a future that will be more fertile for mankind. In the same perspective with you, Punima Anand, we are now facing the reality. Of course, the world order has shifted, and like the two first speakers have highlighted, multipolarity is already at the fore. In your own perspective, and of course, given let's contextualize it with the position of India, looking at today, I quite remember recently that the Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin highlighted that countries like India and China, among others, should not be referred to by the West as colonies. And this brings us again to this to the axis of this global transformation. So holistically, Punima Anand, how what analysis can you give to the realities of the present international world order that stands to define the global transformation that we are talking about in today's world?
Thank you, Clarice. First of all, I once again welcome all the distinguished guests, experts, and followers of your channel, because day by day your channel is increasing its followers. So it is a great honor to join you today in the opening of beautiful exhibition, Global Transformation, today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So this is really very impressive that Julia Berg always takes initiative and unite the world through her appreciable exhibitions and activities, conferences. And I really visited the once in Congo, and Brazil is a very beautiful place, and she invited very meaningful, significant people. As you asked the question about significance of current meeting at China, in Tanzania, I would say that this is the emergence of a new era of mankind for peace coalition. We are talking from many sessions about peace coalition and wars which are happening in Hamas and Ukraine. But we observe that now in China, this is the latest upgradation, that all the countries of global south come together for the main goal, common goal, and they are asking for the cooperation through their participation together. So this is the change in the world, that because yesterday if we are observing from last 80 years, we were working under the umbrella of United Nations and many institutions which were participating at the world order to unite all people, but they were not successfully able to do. That's why world is stretching or fracturing, we can say, and BRICS countries, co-countries, and global south is uniting. So this is my first observation, and secondly, I would like to say that this shift is not dominant; it is a democratic. So by the cooperation of all countries in global south as well as BRICS and ISCO countries, we can achieve our common economy, common development, and prosperity of the humanity.
And it lies still in humanity. How can we make the world a better place for humanity through intentional change? Change that actually does not meet the needs only of those in power or position of leadership. And to Spain, we are getting a perspective from you, Dr. Enrique, a journalist. We actually confronted with the world of turbulence today. And even though we are revisiting the past, we still see that ideologies like interdependence, expansion, and interest, and what more of conquest are some of these very vital terms which are still relevant in today's world, and that explains why we have these turbulences in the 21st century. And back in the days, we are looking at the reasons that the world wars actually started off in the world that we have the ramifications today. So let's get a contextual understanding of the topic from you of global transformation. What, in your own perspective, is global transformation, and why is it relevant to revisit the past, look at the present, and then redefine the future?
Well, it's a very good question, a very long issue, but I will try to make it short. In Europe, we are in transformation, but not up, but down. I mean, our leaders are obsessive, have a terrible obsession with war. No diplomacy, no growing of economy, improvement of society. No, I talk the situation like a meteor comes to the world, so everybody will die. The meteor is Russia. So we have a meteor, Russia will crush Europe, so we have to spend almost 1 trillion euros in military purchase defense, because the war is over us. The war is coming, Russia is like meteor, so they will crush Europe. It's okay, like a film, like a special Hollywood film, but this is our reality by one side. By other side, situation is even more terrible. You can think, what happened in a NATO summit in June? What happened in the meeting of Scotland between Ursula von der Leyen, President of European Commission, and President of USA, Donald Trump? These two events during summer only demonstrated that there is no European power. There is no European influence. Europe became an object in international relations. There is no Europe. There is a puppet with the name of European Union, and we will increase our spending in military supplies, but not good for Europe, only good for USA. We will purchase to USA energy, because to purchase energy to Russia is very bad. We are nurturing the military Russian complex. This is very bad. So we have to be very democratic. So we have to purchase only to USA. Free market, not this time. Free world, not this time too. And also Europe will be purchasing a lot of agricultural supplies to USA. And in exchange, Europe will have to pay 14% of tariffs in the exports from Europe to USA. Very good deal. The mistress of deal in the case of Ursula von der Leyen. Yesterday, it happened a new meeting of the coalition of the will. This political circus in which Europe says that, yes, we are with you, Ukraine, we will send military troops, and when? We will send, sometimes, tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. So tomorrow, yes, we will support you, don't worry, we are with you, Zelensky, we are with you, Ukraine, yeah. Go on and die. Yeah. We are very quiet in the case of Europe. So, in the geopolitical agenda, in the most whole world agenda, they were very angry because of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, because they saw Mr. Putin, Mr. Xi, and Mr. Modi coming together, being happy together, and European Union, it's how to say with no bad words. They are like bad educated children, like selfish children. I want it now. I want it here. But suddenly they go out to the world and no, this is China. We are not going to obey you. Or this is India. We are not obey you. Or this is Russia. Of course, we are not obey you. And they come back to Africa and what happened? No way, no more. What happened? But we are Europe. We are the most democratic continent in the world. What happened in Romania? Some election cancelled, but it was totally justified. Georgescu was a Russian agent, of course. We know as much as the GPS jamming of Ursula von der Leyen plane. And I will finish with this. Imagine, this week started with the information. These terrible Russians made a GPS jamming against the plane of Ursula von der Leyen in Bulgaria. Now it's demonstrated, it's proved that the whole information was wrong. There was no GPS jamming. But what they want? To get into a war against Russia. It's crazy time, the craziest time in Europe, and we are losing the moment of time with these presidents. They are totally obsessed with creation of a war, in spite of the total the destruction of European societies. So it's like the biggest geopolitical suicide in the world, in the history.
And of course, that leaves us with a very big question: how to navigate these very turbulent times in today's world. Professor Jagdish Khatri, we've together listened to the opening analysis from our distinguished expert already, elaborating and given different perspectives to this question, which seems very easy, but then very complex in its understanding and how it will define the purpose that will fit or suit humanity. Professor Jagdish Khatri, so what in your perspective do you think are those the past events which actually will guide us towards a more informed current strategies that will mitigate the turbulence in the world and try to answer the question which Professor Manda highlighted in his discourse, that if we are to take a new world order, whose new world order are we supposed to take? Are we going to identify with person, though actually identify the importance of having a society that harbors humanity?
Thank you, madam. As our topic is global transformation, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So, taking a clue from Professor Monda's talk, I would like to explain it, the phenomena a little bit. Please allow me. I would like to split this past, present, future, turning it as globalization era, deglobalization era, and reglobalization era. So I take 20 years, 1985 to 2005 was the era of globalization. The world was becoming a borderless global village, and there was free movement of ideas, free movement of people, technology, products all over. So this was a globalization area, and this was aided by major developments like falling of the Berlin Wall and advent of internet and other technological advancements. Now, the second stage comes of deglobalization. It came from 2005 to present 2025, another 20 years, which I call deglobalization era. Now, what happened is that although there was a rise in GDP, rise in Human Development Index and production and everything, but the fruits of globalization were not equitably distributed among all sections of societies and all nations. So this led to upheaval of a protest in several countries against the policies of globalization, against the even ruling class itself. So what happened is another developments as reflected in Brexit or in right-wing parties, political parties coming to power in so many countries, including US and other places also, in Europe also. This era also saw protectionist policies, America first, and curbs on immigrations, then against minorities, against poor people, closing of borders, and rise of hyper-nationalism all over, resulting into armed conflicts in several parts of the world. There is a distrust between communities and between nations, between regions, between different blocks. So this is the present era that we have witnessed over past few years. Now, the third stage, the future, I call it re-globalization era, which will result into better understanding of humanity, and the signs are already visible, the coming together of bear, dragon, and elephant, strengthening of BRICS, SCO, ASEAN countries, all the African countries, the whole African continent gaining strength. So these are the symptoms of a changing, transforming world order, realignment of global landscape that we are witnessing. So we hope that this will turn out to be a re-globalization era where self-interest will not be halting the overall global interest. Thank you.
Course, re-globalization era, I think that is very pertinent. Coming back to you, Professor David Monda, we have understood the stakes and knowing fully well that the changes occurring are unavoidable. Now, you were very skeptical, asking whole lot of questions of how to navigate this, and I think when Dr. Enrique was talking, he said the collective West did not actually envisage that the present policies were going to ensure a robust in other relationship or alliances, particularly in the global south and also with BRICS nations. So the question is, we are already of the view that the changes are very there, visible, and it is time to up the game of diplomacy and geopolitics, and Africa is not left out. Kenya, to be precise, is one country that lately has been confronting a lot as far as its foreign policy is concerned, and trapped in this era of global transformation. Now let's have this question answer from you, Professor Monda, in terms of geostrategic alliances. How do you think African nations can actually navigate their relationships with both traditional powers and emerging powers like the BRICS nations, Russia, China, India, and others? And of course, taking the recent exhibition launch in the Congo Brazzaville as a prerequisite for Africa's leadership in the face of a new foreign policy stance amid global confrontations.
So this is a very good question. What is Africa's position? How does Africa position itself between two major competing, or what has been a historical dominant hegemon, the US, right, and a rising competing power, which would be China, which the US would perceive to be Russia, broadly understood as we think about NATO and European security, which would be India, What are the new emerging dynamics when we think global transformation around, for example, multilateral security framework, say around NATO, where, for instance, Trump has tended to downplay the role of NATO, the importance of Europe, and has actually taken a very much America first policy. But going on to the premise of your question around the global south, how do you navigate this new global transformation? It's going to be very difficult and very challenging. And it's going to really depend on the individual context of the global south country that we're talking about. Because we have to remember, when we talk about the global south, we're talking a whole basket full of very different countries. So, for example, is China still in the global south? Or is China now a first world country? China likes to see itself as part of the global south, as championing the cause of the global south. But a lot of analysts would argue economically China is no longer within the global south. India is a nuclear power, has some of the most advanced systems of education and science, and is considered a global south country. And so is Somalia and Afghanistan, which are global south countries, that are failing states. And we have everything else in between. So I say that to say this. If we're going to talk about global south and what should be the global south position, it becomes very complicated because a lot of these national interests do not travel well geographically. What Somalia needs as a national security interest would be very different than what India, which is a major power, surrounded by very dominant players in China and Russia, these are very different spaces. We must also add that when we think about the global south, we have this new dynamic of multilateralism. Now, if we're going to talk about what is the stake of the global south in this new order, again, it gets very complicated and very difficult to define. So, for example, within BRICS, we have South Africa, which is a major power on the continent, but is not a major power on the global stage, at least compared to China and India or Brazil or Russia, which are also members of that very same global south organization. So I say that to say this, that even within the global south dichotomy, we tend to start to see the development of hierarchies, whereby powers like China, which cannot dominate on a global stage, want to retransform and rebrand themselves to dominate within a global south space. And in other words, eat their cake and have it. Be a major world powers outside, BRICS, but also when they come to the developing country scenario, also frame themselves as, developing countries like everybody else. But I think lastly, we then come to this broader question of what exactly is this new global transformation and how do we understand it in a global south context? Will it be multilateralism, which seems to be the emerging order, or unilateralism, which we see in terms of how major powers disregard international law and assert their interess? We've seen this with the US in Iraq, we've seen this with Russia in Ukraine, and we've seen this even with China in Tibet. And some might argue with India, and say separatist regions in Kashmir or India's relationship with Pakistan. Second element of this is, where do we draw the line in terms of multilateralism and unilateralism? How do we understand global ideologies as it perceives itself around democracy and autocracy? That really seems to be a very shifting ball. I think, and then lastly, how are we then going to redefine hegemony versus this broader aspect of multipolarity? Do we really have hegemons? Do we have regional hegemons? How is Russia, for example, reasserting its space within Europe? How is China reasserting its space, not only within the global south, but even within its own neighborhood, in terms of how China threatens India, how China threatens Russia, even though all those countries consider themselves to be part of the global south? I think it's a very interesting and enduring conversation.
Absolutely, Professor Monda. Let me stay with you one more time. Looking at this global transformation in the context of the African continent, which I think is very important because Africa seems to be a vital stakeholder in the geopolitical confrontation that the world is witnessing at this particular moment. And I will take an example of the leadership of Congo Brazzaville. If we are looking at Denis Sassou Nguesso, we will notice, of course, that he has adopted what we can term a balanced foreign policy stance. We see how he's navigating with the former colonial power and strengthening a more robust relationship with the Russian Federation. And this explains preamble of today, where we highlighted the fact that the exhibition that seeks to bring more understanding to the global transformations was actually unveiled in Congo Brazzaville, and also the meeting between President Vladimir Putin and Brazzaville Congo President Denis Sassou Nguesso. Let's now capitalize on the scope or the competitive advantage for the African continent if we arrive at the conclusion that diplomacy now talks alliances of interest instead of alliances of ideologies, using the words of Professor Jagdish Khatri.
Right. Alliances of interest against alliances of ideologies. And here then we are thinking about neorealism, right? The primacy of material and strategic interests above ideological, normative, and constructed, interests. And in the case of Africa, I think in many instances we do start to see how cunning and how clever a lot of global South countries have been, particularly in the African continent, to play East against West, to play major hegemons against each other, while hedging their interests around major global powers, but also playing off one global power against another. For example, the US against China and China against the US. And we see this very, very much, for example, in the case of Rwanda, right? Sure. Where Rwanda has been very strategic about using its position to shoot above its weight, to extend its interests into the Eastern DRC, to extract minerals from the Eastern DRC and secure those minerals, at the behest of major global powers, in this case, the US and China. But at the same time, keeping close to China so that when the US accuses Rwanda of human rights abuses or abuses in the DRC, Rwanda can remind the Western countries and Western powers about the Rwandese genocide and about how Rwanda is also securing their scramble for these rare minerals within the DRC. So the African countries and many global South countries have become very skilled at playing off these major powers. But I must add that there is a danger for African countries in engaging in that game. And we see this within the Sahelian region, where moves of countries in the Sahel, where we're thinking, for example, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Niger, right? Moves to democracy have been trampled over with the return of military strongmen, right? A return to autocracy. Rebranding and a move away and an abandonment of la francophonie, right? This idea of closeness to France and, this very paternalistic relationship between France and its former colonies in West Africa, and how a lot of those Sahelian countries are moving not only from democracy towards autocracy, they're embracing autocracy and military government, but they're also embracing new and emerging powers, like Russia. But I say the danger in that is sometimes African countries can overplay their hand, because African countries and global South countries are still relatively weak. They're in many cases they cannot regulate their borders, and yes, they have agency, but they cannot overextend their reach. And we see some of these contradictions in the Sahel, for example, in countries like Mali and Niger, whereby even though those countries have abandoned France as a provider of security and embraced the Wagner Group and the Russians and Chinese, we still see the expansion of terrorist groups within those countries and a threat to the national security of those countries even as we speak. So the status quo has not changed. They're still broadly insecure, speaking to these specific countries, even though they've tried to play global players and global alliances against themselves. So even as much as we think about this new order, we think about global South countries playing strategic ambiguity, there is an extent to which they can play that game, because it can come back to bite them, as we see in the case of many Sahelian countries, and also as we see in the case of the DRC, where countries are now interested in the DRC, not because 6 million people have been massacred there over the last 30 years, but essentially because of these economies of violence, of extraction of those rare minerals within the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you, Professor Monda. And of course, what is the way forward with all you've highlighted? It brings us again to the realities of today, very imperative to understand so as to shape the future. Dr. Enrique, I will appreciate if you comment actually to the analysis presented by Professor Monda, still highlighting the changes which have occurred in terms of the shifting alignment from France to largely a more radical diplomatic standing, especially with the countries in the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
Well, I provide you an example because I am a Spanish person. Some years, the past decade, it happened, the Spanish military support to the French military action in Mali. Mm-hmm. But if you ask it to some media, so to some average Spanish person, why we were in Mali? We don't know, because maybe NATO, maybe French asked for us, but what is our mission? We don't know. This is very important. It's very significant because when it's about Africa, in Spain concretely, the answers are like, oh, we don't know. Just like, we don't know. And about Africa, in France in Africa, of course, they try to portray in mainstream media like, oh, it's the Russians again. The meteorite of Russia is planning against Europe, is making massive migration from Africa to Europe. Russia is guilty of this. Not about post-colonial heritage or something like that. No. Russia is the joker of everything. And when it's about proportion of new world order, in the case of Europe, there is no proposal, sorry, because presidents in Europe are obsessed with the war against Russia. There is no other thing. When it's about Africa, it's like, oh, the same as we did. And what we did. No more explanations, because it will start to be on the table very bad things, very bad actions. In the opposite of the narrative about we are the continent of democracy and we are spreading human rights, and no, the reality is very different than narratives. So, as I was listening from Professor Monda, of course in Africa there is some requests, some necessities, and also from India, from Global South and so on. But it's also very interesting in my point of view, because none of these things are taken into account when it's about mainstream media in Europe, or even important teachers or something like that. I will provide you an example, because it's an anecdote from me in a very mainstream media. in Spanish language. I talk, for example, yes, Russia, the isolated country, they made oil project in Republic of Congo, and now, for example, some days ago, it happened a meeting with President of Republic of Congo and President Putin, and the answer from the other side was, "What? Republic of Congo? What is that? It's a useless, wasted country. It doesn't matter." Yes, of course, the success of European diplomacy. What is this country? We don't care about this country. And the other, we don't care. We don't care about anybody. What we expect from the world. The total obey. It's the world order based in rules. Our rules, our victory, our benefits. Of course, in the case of USA and the America First is totally evident. They are, no, our benefit. Where is our benefit? We have to lead the world for our benefit. And the case of Europe is the same, like USA, but powerless. Totally powerless. So it's even more ridiculous in the world.
Of course, ridiculous, and bringing us again. If that should be the case, Dr. Enrique, should we then, in today's reality, try to redefine words contextually? Because from the analysis of Professor Munda, according to the revolution that is happening in the Sahelian states, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, it's already a challenge to democracy. And then we come to ask her, and what is democracy in the context of the situation in the Sahel region? And that is again a very important question that we want to answer already in the context of our discussion this day with you, Purnima Anand. Still looking at the realities of today. The first part we already underlined the past, which actually is still very present in today's world of international relations, which has challenged the concepts of globalization. But then for this transformation to bring us to light, because the exhibition actually highlighted that from darkness to light, and darkness, I think to an extent depicts ignorance of the global structure, and now we are already in the light where people are already very conversant, and that is why there is the global call for restructuring of the world's architecture, political, economic, social, cultural, and you can name the rest. So let's try to understand some of these ideologies, contextualizing the dictates of the BRICS nations.
Thank you, Clarice. This discussion is going on very interesting, because we are discussing yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Sure.
We are at the edge of time when globalization is happening in different ways. As Professor Khatri told, that we can divide this discussion in pre-globalization, globalization, and de-globalization. So I am saying that now we are moving towards new era for peace coalition, because now we are having two things in front of development. One is development, second is war. Because Hamas and Ukraine crisis created new model, because we are not able to reach to any point to stop this wars. Because before this war, we were having so many peace forces of United Nations and world agencies and United Nations Security Council. We had many institutions to discuss the wars and to maintain the peace. But now we are observing from last 3.5 years that in Ukraine no solution is coming out, and Ukraine is pushed by the Western world and America to carry forward the war. And similarly in Hamas and Israel, agenda is different, and they are also forcing And even I don't say it is war, it is a genocide of Hamas people. So just to control it, what is the solution and what new order we can carry forward? This is a point of today's discussion. So now recently President Vladimir Putin and Trump met at Alaska, and after immediately that China SCO conference happened where all global South world leaders meet. And another important Russian Vladivostok Economic Forum is happening from 3 to 6 September. So what is happening from this line? If we will observe latest events on global stage from Alaska to China to Vladivostok, I am feeling that all these leaders from America to Russia to China, they are trying to align the world for peaceful cooperation, for development. And right now, after China, many leaders are meeting in Vladivostok, and we know about China project, One Belt, One Road. Through SCO, through BRICS, they are expanding this One Road, One Belt project. But we are, like Professor Monda mentioned, that we are having threats also. Like America was one of the body who was regulating the world order. Now China is developing, and from China, many nations are having issues, border issues, economic issues. So here also we have to be careful. But at this time, when we are thinking about peace coalition, we need to trust each other. Trust is the major key. And with trust, we can make new partners, new alliances, and new solutions for turbulence time and to bring a new economic model for the peace. So this is very important that for our tomorrow, today we need to discuss very carefully. We need to understand world stage very carefully, what is happening and what is the mindset of our leaders. All leaders want betterment of their people, of their democratic values. But at global stage, everybody is acting different because Professor Munda mentioned many cases about Africa. Similarly, I can discuss about Asia because in Pakistan, Bangladesh, China at borders, we are having very big problem. And with Pakistan from last 75 years continuously, we are having border issues, and recently in Palgaon, our innocent people were killed, and India-Pakistan war just started and stopped by the intervention of America. So what all these changes are happening and why it is happening, today we have to understand very well why world is shifting, why is Western power shifting towards Eastern powers, what is the reason of changes, and if these changes are relevant and needful, then we should trust these changes and we should not discuss what will happen in India and Pakistan. Like in SCO, India and Pakistan both are observers and members, but in BRICS countries, Pakistan tried to take the membership, but India objected, and this is on substance. It is not given to Pakistan. So in BRICS we are different, in SCO we are different. So this is the difference of Eastern nations also. So, but this is turbulence time. We need to ignore the problems. What is the good for economic model, economic new world order? This is important, and how we can come together. We are not stretching the world. Recently, I went to France, and they asked me the question that BRICS is stretching the world, and I asked them that what is the meaning of Europe? Europe is a group of nations. They come together long back after Second World War for their common security, common economy, and common prosperous development. Similarly, now in the Eastern world, BRICS countries are trying to follow European model. And in BRICS countries, not only five other nations are becoming members, and they are trying to come together. How with common consciousness we can make new routes for our economic model, for our prosperity, for our next generation development. Because in our country, we are having 6 billion people. If we will say global south or eastern world or BRICS and scope, we are 6 billion people. And 75% economic trade relation we have. So if we are needed cooperation, then definitely we should think in the eastern side, not European side. And we saw the model in the past that Europe did it their hegemony. Whatever they needed, they taken from Africa or Asia. They utilize our human resource, natural resources, and currently we need these natural resources for our development. But now, under Copenhagen Summit, they are saying that this cannot be done under ESG or e-governance. Why? Because they already developed and we have to develop. I need dams in my country, I need highways in my country, I need connectivity between mountains. We need to reroute the rivers because somewhere flood is coming, somewhere drought is coming. So we need to make new opportunities for our people by technology. So these things need to be looked after by the government. And new trust, because time is short, if we are discussing in second session, today time. So today time is time of trust and cooperation. And this is the mission of BRICS. That's why more and more countries looking forward for their space of respect, cooperation, and prosperity. So this is the BRICS. So as I am visiting to many countries in BRICS and BRICS plus countries,
Yeah.
I am feeling that people are satisfied and people are getting their interest to promote their country's interest with the BRICS mission. Thank you, and I feel that our this session is very important because if we will not discuss today in right way, then maybe we will go to dark. If we will discuss our today in better way, we are moving towards light. So this is the objective of our exhibition today, which India organized. So dark to light, but we have to be careful today where we are moving.
Indeed, dear Punima, understanding the realities and of course redefining the discussions, which I will again highlight that during the exhibition launch, the expert noted that the exhibition actually is very important, not just for the Congo-Russia relationship, but it presents a better platform for the global world to ensure that they bring forth such exchanges like what we already having on this platform, Global Insider, where we have dialogue, analysis, and even search for solutions which are practical and that will change or somehow mitigate the turbulence that the world is facing at this juncture. And just to note that, ladies and gentlemen, as the discussion is ongoing, we are also discovering that the answers which are being posed or presented in the analysis are subsequently being answered, like Punima highlighted just a moment ago, that the global south and other emerging powers actually copied the ideology of the Western world or the European bloc to ensure that they think their security, that they think their economy, and of course the new way of ensuring this global transformation positively is to ensure that these decisions are taken for the benefit of global development and peace, where we prioritize consciousness, people to people diplomacy, and of course prioritize peace over war. I will reiterate what Julia Burke has always said. In spite of the confrontation at the end, the stakeholders involved will still meet on the negotiation tables. But then, what can we talk about the lives that have been lost, the destructions that came in form of human loss and even material loss? So it is very imperative that we bring together a platform like this to continue to bring forth constructive analysis to the existing challenges of the global world. Coming back to you, Professor Jagdisha Khatri, let's take the concept of the exhibition which was launched on the 30th of August 2025 in Congo, Brazzaville, to understand why the Russian Federation chose to engage in a more open diplomatic discussions or friendship with other countries, in spite of actually engaging in a more direct confrontation with the proxy parties in the situation in Ukraine that will further make a world to be more polarized.
Yeah, ma'am, I would like to quote Albert Einstein's saying that we cannot solve the problems using the same type of thinking with which we have created these problems first.
Absolutely.
So the world is changing, and we have to change with the change of mindset. We have to change with the change of priorities, and hopefully the present SEO summit has presented some very optimistic uh, statements from leaders. Like Xi Jinping stressed on rejuvenation of all developing countries and promoting the progress of human society as a whole. He further mentioned that it's the right choice for both of us, both means China and India, to be friends and partners, not rivals. And let's enable each other's success. Let elephant and dragon dance together. So the thinking is changing, the world is changing, and there are 3 C's important for this. One is communication, then cooperation, and third stage is collaboration. So let there be more communication between different countries on different platforms. Let them explore the areas of cooperation where they can help each other, and also explore the areas of collaboration where joint working can be there to solve the problems of the humanity. Ultimately, it must be understood that behind all these things, something that is non-negotiable is security, sovereignty, and dignity. So we have to take care of these 3 things, ensuring security, sovereignty, and dignity of each nation, whether big or small. Then we can proceed further.
In data, understanding the stakes of each nation and seeing how the different parties can actually function under one umbrella, but then at the end to ensure a more win-win relationship at every level. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you are just tuning in, this is your discursive program Global Insider on your Pan-African television, as well proposed by the Global Expert Club, as we continue to bring analysis that suit the present confrontations of the global world. And before we continue with the discussions, I think we're going to listen to the excerpt of the Russian ambassador to the Republic of Congo, where he was actually gracing the exhibition. He highlighted the importance of such, also underlining the place of Africa in today's world. And I will join you right after that.
Globe Us. This is an association of independent experts, free-thinking people who promote a constructive agenda in times of transformation, looking for sustainable solutions to acute problems for the transition to a fair world order. The modern world is undergoing serious changes. They are happening before our eyes, and they are completely new. In addition to regional conflicts, the economic crisis and political instability, there is a radical restructuring of the entire architecture of international relations. Moreover, many traditional poles of politics, economics, and cultures cease to exist as sovereign and independent associations. That is, new centers of power are coming to the force to replace the model of world relations formed after World War II. Among them, and we in Russia, are convinced of this. Africa plays a faithful role. The exhibition that we are opening today shows the formation of a new configuration of international relations, and as a result of a chain of local and global upheavals. For me, it is very important that the exhibition carries out the idea through the darkness to light, because it emphasizes the importance of spiritual strength, traditional values in turbulent times, the role of leaders in history, and most importantly, it strengthens confidence in a favorable development of events. So, let us look to the future with optimism. Thank you for your keen attention.
Indeed, looking at the future with optimism, that was a standard of the current Russian ambassador to the Republic of Congo, Brazzaville. And of course, we continue with panel analysis with Julia Burke, of course, throwing more light on those key points underlined by the Russian ambassador during the launch of the exhibition in Brazzaville.
Yes, thank you. And what is interesting, even though I proudly call myself the author of this exhibition,
Absolutely.
and it has already taken place a military historical museum in St. Petersburg. I was not present at this opening this time, but it still was a great event, organized at a very high level. And the speech that was given by the Russian ambassador, Ilyas Iskandarov, was a very powerful one, highlighting the key points of the current ongoing geopolitical processes that are marked by high turbulence and that are pretty much indicating the upcoming change of roles at the global arena. So he highlighted the growing role of the African countries like that have the might, that do have the human resources, natural resources, amazing human potential. And what he stated in his speech as well is that basically we're in the time that changes the disposition at the global arena, when the ones that actually own and possess real resources will be gaining their momentum eventually.
So with this exhibition, Yulia, the discussions which actually came from particularly Professor Monde brought again some very pertinent questions on how to ensure that this global transformation and the new world order that actually largely the global south is advocating for should not be a repeat of the old order that we are trying to redefine in this in this point and this point in time. So being the brain behind a platform like VESA and looking at the global transformation that inculcates past, present, and also envisions the future, what can we see is the purpose and some realities which are already embedded in this transformation in the 21st century that will ensure that the world takes a clearer trajectory that will actually foster peace and development globally?
Well, I don't think that it could even be possible that the world would go back to because currently we're facing a completely different environment, and the humanity is now at a different, let's say, level of technological development. When information is accessible through it, when artificial intelligence is entering into the everyday life, the exchange of information is instant. The exchange of financial transactions are much faster. A lot of processes are much faster. So if before it was still possible to massively manipulate the public opinion, now it is still possible even using different tools, but the tools for creation of alternative platforms are also more developed. So I don't think we will be seeing a comeback to some kind of a previous model, but the new one emerging right now is still leaving us with quite a lot of question marks, because the role of technology and the role of let's say artificial intelligence, the role of all of those processes are not really regulated. And the next competition definitely would be for possession and ownership of those, because they will owning them would mean that everyone is to be controlled and everyone else would be living in a different paradigm. So I think that right now, given the fact that China and India as well are playing key roles in technological development, we have quite a different approach towards this. We will be seeing a completely different balance of powers. And this is something that the exhibition is also talking about, that the role of BRICS plus countries and the role of Africa, the role of South America will be changing, and this will create, let's say, irreversible effects.
Indeed, the change we underlined earlier on, that is very constant. And Professor Jagdisha just highlighted it again. We cannot take the existing conditions when a problem was created to actually wanting to solve the problem with the same logic. There needs to be some changes or new impetus that comes with collaboration, compromise, understanding, communication, to be able to have a just world order that also prioritizes the sovereignty or autonomy of independent nations. And with that said, Professor Dr. Enrique, we are now looking at still on the present, the various ongoing geopolitical processes which, according to you, have immediate effect or impact on the current global stability, peace, and development.
In my opinion, now the world is being divided in two worlds: the decreasing unipolar world and the rising multipolar world. I mean, two different sides of the world. In one side, the unipolar world is totally obsessed with the global hegemony, with the sustain of the previous world order, but they don't have the power of previous decades to being imposed on the world. So they are like little dogs, like little chihuahua, barking a lot, but what we can make. They are not the unipolar global hegemony. They have only this title, but not the reality. In the other side, of course, there is a hope, a construction of a different world. But anyway, in my opinion, I think the world will always be the great powers world order. The great power is always needed. For example, Latin American great power and African great power. India, China, Russia are great powers by their own. And that's the key. That's the key. That's the most crucial issue, because if we have a predator, this USA and allies, European allies, okay, or European pounds than allies, because they have no opinion. They only continue what the USA is seeing, is telling, or even worse. So that's the situation. Two different worlds, one unipolar world in decreasing, one multipolar world in rising. But nothing is totally completed or something like that. It's under construction. So we are the people in this present. We are the actors for the creation of this world. For example, in the case of Europe, sorry, I am from here, so I try to give us our point of view for enriching you. Government presidents are obsessed with the war, but people know. People is the opposite. People want sovereignty, wants prosperity, wants world understanding with the rest of people in the world, not imposing a false view of democracy, human rights, or something like that, but mutual benefit and prosperity for the future and sovereignty. That's, I think, the most crucial by the moment.
Most crucial, and it's actually aligns with the leadership qualities that we have in present day society. Coming back to you, Punima Anand, to understand and to somehow give importance to the analysis which have been advocated so far pertaining our topic for discussion, we again want to look at the role of leadership in ensuring the global transformation. Today, a whole lot, Dr. Enrique talked about Trump's stance, USA Today, even Professor Monda and other experts. And then we also note that, according to some viewpoints, Trump actually accepted the Alaska meeting because of China and India. It shows that the shifting alliances actually it's affecting already the global order, and it shows again that it's about interest. Still, Dr. Enrique noted earlier that when they talk African countries or Africa in Europe and elsewhere, many people are very blank. They don't understand the real stakes. It shows again that even though you're acting globally, you need to come internally to be able to benefit from the scope of international diplomacy. And again, I want to take another example before I come to the question. Recently, the President of the United States of America met with some African leaders, and when the President of Liberia spoke in English, he was actually surprised that he asked how he managed to be very fluent in English, something quite simple, but then it posed a whole lot of questions as to how you can be hosting an official meeting with a fellow peer or colleague from another country, not understanding maybe the background of that country. It again shows how it is just all about, alliances of interest and not for the benefit of the other party. It brings us again to underlining the important role that our leaders, those at the decision-making table, need to play to ensure that we give impetus to initiatives like the exhibition launch highlighting global transformation today, tomorrow, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. As the president of the BRICS International Forum, what analysis can you give that pertains to the present realities?
This is really important part of our today's discussion, that what are the current realities and what we are going to say for the future. The incident which you told about English speaking by African leader, it is a, again as Julia Berg told, it is a communication skill, and nowadays technology, translation and communication, it is very fast. And this is the reason we all are together today to discuss this very important discussion for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is also a digitalization and communication technological skill of the team. So, for future, we need to understand that how fast we need to move. Two things are important in the world: nature and humanity. Now we are moving towards digitalization, artificial intelligence. Many new kind of organizations are developing. Earlier, only we were giving strategies by think tanks and experts, university specialists, subject specialists. Nowadays, everybody is a specialist. In 20, 30 minutes, you can be expert of your topic because ChatGPT and many other artificial intelligence technologies give you inputs of that subject. So future is very fast, information is very fast, data banking is happening, you can get any information anytime. But now it is very important that how we are utilizing these resources, these new resources of technology and communication. Because in my country, I am from India, and in my country, how artificial intelligence is utilizing. One side India is very rich, and one side India is poor. And we 80% people, they are receiving government grants and government, they are depending on government jobs and government food security. Another side, the people who are working with cyber security, artificial intelligence, fintech. So every day we are hearing cyber security crimes. Instead of development, we are feeling that crimes are increasing and it is uncontrolled by the police authorities. So this is the future aspect also. This is a future technology. We need to develop digitalization and artificial intelligence for the development, for the prosperity, for the peace. So this is also very important for today's leaders, today's experts, and today's think tanks, that artificial intelligence and digitalization should go in the positive direction. Otherwise, it will be more harmful than the previous wars and previous destruction. So this is very important that we should take care of human index, people development, people prosperity, young people employment and security of the world. Because if young people will be busy, then peace already will be there. Because if young people are empty, they are discussing, they are using artificial intelligence for destructive work, then it will be very harmful. So it is the responsibility of government, think tanks and experts that they should give this technology benefits to all humans, especially young generation. Because old people or 60 plus people will not go to learn everything. They are using the artificial intelligence. But young generation have to work on artificial intelligence for their prosperity, for their future. So our tomorrow is safe and secure with the technology. And human skills and technology can give us betterment and good mankind's future with the nature where human beings can live happily on this planet. So I feel our tomorrow is more faster, more communication, more friendly, and more peaceful.
quite imperative, and to see that coming to practice, there is need to indulge in some what we can call cultural diplomacy with you, Professor Jagdish. Considering that there is need to have some proximity between nations and also people, and this comes to cultural diplomacy, like what we already saw the case study between Congo, Brazzaville, and the Russian Federation, with the official launch of an exhibition platform to open dialogue and conversations that will help the global world navigate the changing, challenging times. So, in your own perspective, and of course as a global analyst, where does the place, or where is the place of cultural diplomacy to ensure sustainability in the changes that are already occurring along the lines of politics, economy, and others?
Yeah. You see, India has never been a transactional power. It is a civilizational power that is interested in building international relationships with a long-term view, and taking the whole world view in building these relationships. So we have been committed to cooperation based on three mutuals: mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual sensitivity. So these are the basic things that are there, and we are always for the building the connectivity. The connectivity, India feels that connectivity not only results in an increase of trade, but also it enhances the mutual trust, friendship, and people-to-people contact also. And in this, you see, there is already progress being made in international north-south transport corridor via Iran's Bandar Abbas port. Then there is a Chennai-Vladivostok Eastern Maritime Corridor being planned, and a North Sea route is being planned to build India's access to Russia and the Arctic. So we are trying for connectivity. We always advocate people-to-people contact and cultural relationships strengthening. Our Prime Minister has always given the formula: reform, perform, and transform. So we have to reform the existing processes, the existing mindsets, and existing practices. We have to perform as per the best of our potential, and that will lead us to the transformation. So culture will naturally play a very important role in building a new, confident world order.
And overall, there is need to analyze the place of a major stakeholder, that is the media. You highlighted it already, Dr. Enrique, and it will be imperative that we accentuate more on it, because today the world is also confronting a communication war or information war, where you see initiatives geared towards ensuring a more just world order being hijacked by things like disinformation and propaganda, among others. So let's look at how maybe we can reshape the media landscape. Maybe that should be one of the priority areas of the Global Expert Club, to ensure that there is a strong media presence that will advocate a more constructive view of the changes happening in the world, that will eventually widen the scope of understanding, both in Europe and particularly in Africa, which is a major stakeholder in the happenings around the world.
Let me provide you an example. an example not to do. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense of USA, yesterday in social network X, former Twitter, he wrote Department of War in response to a tweet from a message from Fox News. Exclusive, White House reveals it will bring back the Department of War name for the Department of Defense. Yes, while the majority of the world is trying to construct confidence, goodwilling, good action, USA is okay, it's in this way of America first, like, okay, not more Department of Defense, but Department of War. Okay, let's took a glance on the past. When the countries had a minister of war or Department of War, when democracy was only a little excuse, it was not like state of law and democracy and social democratic and rule of law states, but only, yes, we have law, we have some kind of rule of law, but democracy, it doesn't matter. And the time of the colonialist empires. Department of War, because in the phrase of the famous von Clausewitz, the war is politics by other means. So it was very bad in the past century. It was common in the 2 centuries back. And what are USA making with this Department of War? So the war will be a mean of politics in the world? Okay, this doesn't mean that previous of this rebranding, war was not a political action by other means. But now it's the total recognition that it doesn't matter the law, it doesn't matter all the rule world order base. It's the my benefit world order. My benefit, the benefit of USA, of the power in USA, not to the USA people, but the power, the government. And in the case of Europe, it's the same. It's the benefit of the government and welfare state. The welfare state was the milestone of Europe in the world. Like, yes, we are the continent of the social spending in the world. We spend more budget in the social areas than the rest of the world. And now, no, we have to sacrifice welfare state because we have to prepare a war against the meteor of Russia. Good action. And the USA, no, Department of War, yes, we have to make a rebranding. It will be very interesting. And Mr. Donald Trump in the Oval Office putting a lot of flags from the branches of American armed forces, like, yes, these are what? Your MAGA supporters? No, this is your force supporters. So what is your policy in the world? If you don't get something by words, by threats, you will try to get by force. Wonderful. If some country was not combined to make a reshaping in the world order, for example, like India, yes, Trump made a decision for them, like, yes, we have to go away from USA, and many other countries are making also the same, like, okay, take care of USA because they don't care about you. If you are an ally, or you are an enemy, they will behave with you in the same way. Only my benefit. I have to take all the things from you to benefit me. If this destroys the West, the collective West, it doesn't matter. We have to annex Canada because social national security. Greenland, national security, take for me. Panama Channel, take for me. And what is the image for the world? If USA wants something for them, they will try to get. If there was some separate country with doubts about we need to make new allies, we have to reshape our mindset, we have to solve some former problems. Okay, it's the special time to do. And in the case of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, it was very interesting that Mr. Xi Jinping, President of China, mentioned that thanks to the Kazan Summit in the BRICS in October previous year, it was very important meeting with Prime Minister Modi, because they solved the Indian-Chinese problems. So they are reshaping the geopolitics, not only in Asia, especially in Asia, but in the rest of the world. And if somebody was in doubts in India, yes, after the threats of Mr. Putin, nobody, I think, has doubts. Especially as we have two special guests from India, anybody can know that India, Indian policy, Indian politics, Indian presidency, Indian people has in the mind that we will be never a colony from anybody. Sure. So if we reject British crown, we cannot change British with second British, with USA. Mm-hmm. So USA tried to become the new ruler, like, no, I say you, India, you have to make this. And India, no, you are not the ruler of us. What are you talking about, Trump? No, you don't have to buy oil from Russia or making deals with China, because I am ordering you what to do. India, no, mm-hmm. Not with us.
And that is why I remember Steve Gill saying that at this moment Americans seem to be entrapped because they seem not to understand the foreign policy stance of current President Donald Trump, and also highlighting that from what you have said, Dr. Enrique, we can come to underline that in what Andrei Gromov said while actually addressing the exhibition, that there is need to form the future now by understanding the narratives which have been underlined during this platform, or on this platform now, and even in the past, to understand how we can write a future that will benefit global transformation. We are moving closer to the end of the discussions, but then we need to look at how the future will look like with you, Punima, and end with the realities on the ground, the ambiguities or the complexities involving the world structure or architecture at the moment. Let's try to get some proposals from you that will suit this new world order practically, and to ensure that humanity has a place.
With the new world order, we are very optimistic. We are observing that it will strengthen people development and people cooperation, be more resilient towards nature, and security and communication will be more faster due to artificial intelligence and digitalization. So I am very positive and relaxed that our leaders are doing right things. They are moving from dark side to lighten side, because they understand from the United Nations or Western world, they will not get everything. Whatever we have to mobilize ourselves, it is our strength, and we need to increase the skill of our young generation, technology skill for transformation. So I hope our next generation and our future will be very peaceful, and people will cooperate, and we will nature, and we will save our planet as a peaceful, happy planet for our prosperous and happy life.
Absolutely, for the benefit of mankind. Coming to you, dear Yulia, looking at your standpoint on the realities of the world and how it is imperative that we have a new world order that respects sovereignty and other critical elements, especially territorial integrity of countries. What are some of the ideas or maybe pathways for a more just, equitable, and sustainable global world order that the Global Expert Club seeks to carry along as we continue to navigate the ever evolving world?
I would like to quote one of the phrases that are quotes, and it says that every, let's say, people or every nation has the government that it deserves. And I think that realizing the responsibility for things are government is one of the key principles at the global arena as well. Enrique was just giving a great example of how, let's say, a country like India at some point started demonstrating its own standpoint, and we see the similar examples taking place in many countries of Africa. And I think this is one of the key methods or mechanisms based on personal or, let's say, collective responsibility that could actually be applied in order to change things around. Because you know, some kind of conspiracy theory about something, and the sooner we start actually doing things to change the aspects that we do not like, to the extent to which it is even possible, I think the sooner we will see major changes taking place. So the future really depends mostly on how we shape it, how we act about it, and which path we're going to be choosing in terms of, do we choose to preserve tradition, we choose to use the technology for a constructive agenda, do we choose to still try to focus on 10-11N, or do we choose to focus on immediate profits? Do we choose to focus on strategic aims or tactical ones? And I think this real line of consciousness, fundamental individuals would really define the collective future.
In fact, setting the preamble, understanding the stakes to define a sustainable future for mankind, and this can actually be materialized if we put together the development or advancements in terms of change in mindset, technology, and other aspects which have actually given meaning to the global village, the definition of the world being a global village. And coming to you, Professor Jagdish Khatri, we are looking at the future, understanding that the turbulence that came from the past due to unresolved differences, especially among major powers, and now how it is affecting the present. But then we are looking at the future that will come with a lesser, maybe lesser scenarios of war, or maybe physical confrontations. Now we want to look at those strategies that can be inculcated in maybe the system of governance, the civil society, and even other stakeholders, like what we already seen with the expert club, to ensure a more balanced and constructive dialogue that will open a clear pathway for international relations and global cooperation.
Well, I would just like to mention the recent tweet today by President Trump becoming viral. He says that looks like we have lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together. And that is the mirror of things to come. And that is the realization is happening that tariffs cannot be weaponized always to influence the foreign policies of other countries. And the bold statements from India, from China, and from Russia, and especially from Mexico president and Brazil's president and Burkina Faso's president. I think these are just showing that the Western hegemony is being challenged, and all the global South as well as all the bigger powers of Russia and China, India, they are all in the process of realignment of forces and redefining the geopolitical landscape. So this is underlining the principle of India that differences should not be allowed to turn into disputes. So keeping aside the differences, we are together for a better and sustainable world order. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we can not undermine the statement made by Andrei Gromov, founder of GR Grouper, while actually in conjunction with the ambassador of Russia to Congo Brazzaville, unveiling the platform, exhibition platform for expert analysis, discourse, and dialogue for a better future, highlighted the importance of understanding all the happenings now to ensure that we have a clear, defined future. And I will beg us to listen to this excerpt of Andrei Gromov.
Сегодня мы должны говорить о будущем.
Aujourd'hui, on doit parler de l'avenir.
Потому что будущее формируется сегодня.
Puisque c'est aujourd'hui que l'avenir se forme.
Но мы не должны забывать о прошлом.
Mais on ne doit pas non plus oublier le passé.
Сегодня для нас прошлое – это большой урок того, как было, и тех ошибок, которые мы совершили, и тех позитивных вещей, которые влияли на формирование сегодняшнего дня.
On tire toujours des leçons de ce qui s'est passé par le passé, des erreurs et de bonnes choses, donc pour en profiter à l'heure actuelle.
И, безусловно, как сказал господин посол, очень важно, чтобы это формировалось на основе правильных ценностей, человеческих ценностей.
Et comme l'a bien noté son Excellence, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur, il est très important que la base de tout cela soit de vraies valeurs humaines.
А эти ценности формируют наши лидеры.
Et ce sont nos leaders qui forment les dites valeurs.
Бывают разные лидеры, но настоящий лидер – это тот, кто формирует не только вертикальную иерархию, но и глубоко погружен в низовую повестку.
Les leaders peuvent être différents. Il y en a qui forment une hiérarchie à la verticale, mais ce qui représente le plus de valeur, ce sont ceux qui s'occupent de ceux qui sont en bas, qui forment l'ordre du jour du peuple.
Да. Настоящий лидер – это тот, кто может принимать непопулярные решения, но тем не менее знает и чувствует, что народу действительно важно.
Un vrai leader, c'est celui qui n'hésite pas à prendre des décisions qui ne seraient pas appréciées par le peuple, mais il sait déjà que ça fera du bien à tout le monde.
Поэтому очень важно, чтобы в каждой стране было такое экспертное сообщество, которое насыщает смыслами ту повестку, которая присутствует и на высших государственных институтах.
Donc, il apparaît très important que dans chaque pays, il y ait cette communauté d'experts qui remplissent du contenu l'ordre du jour de l'État.
Особенно сейчас, когда мир находится в эпоху глобальных перемен.
Surtout maintenant, quand le monde traverse des bouleversements globaux.
Каждый из нас имеет право быть таким экспертом. Каждый из нас должен участвовать в общественной жизни.
Chacun de nous a droit à être un tel expert. Chacun doit participer à la vie publique.
Потому что прошлое сформировано нашими предками.
Vu que le passé a été formé par nos ancêtres.
И мы должны иметь долг и честь по достоинству это прошлое превратить в светлое будущее.
Et c'est notre honneur et notre devoir de transformer ce glorieux passé en un avenir radieux.
То богатое наследие, которое во времена тоже тяжелых эпох и потрясений добились через испытания наши предки, мы сегодня с гордостью несем это знамя в будущее.
Le grand patrimoine, le grand héritage que nos ancêtres ont mis tant de peine à acquérir, c'est nous qui portons ce drapeau vers l'avenir.
И с развитием современных технологий каждый из нас несет ответственность за это. Каждый из нас может быть лидером мнений, каждый из нас может доносить мысли и формировать то единое информационное пространство, которое закладывает основы для будущей деятельности.
Et chacun de nous peut maintenant former l'opinion, devenir un influenceur pour poser les pierres pour un développement futur compte tenu du progrès technologique.
Поэтому для нас большая честь здесь присутствовать здесь в прекрасном Браззавиле на открытии этого мероприятия. И мы надеемся, что максимальное количество людей увидят эту выставку, подумают и примут участие во всех дальнейших наших мероприятиях.
C'est un grand honneur pour nous d'organiser cette exposition et on espère tous qu'elle attirera beaucoup de monde, que chacun puisse venir ici voir comment ça se passe.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup pour votre attention.
Spasiba Andrei Gromova, just to highlight, ladies and gentlemen, that he is the founder of a GR group, and he highlighted very much important the role of leadership, which pertains not just to policymakers but to every human with the interest of seeing a sustainable and just society, which I will reiterate in the words of that the role of a leader in history in the view, or is the view of contemporaries on the changes and events that not only our country is facing today, and a question which is very relevant for the global world, highlighting or reiterating that the exhibition actually demonstrated the path from darkness to light, and those difficult events and pages of history which have formed an understanding of how to do the right thing and shape the future world together. Of course, cementing again the precepts of globalization and international relations. And ladies and gentlemen, it is on this note that we are drawing the curtains into today's edition of the program, which is a Global Insider, taking a moment, of course, to thank our panel of experts, Dr. Enrique Rafael, for joining us from Spain. Thank you so much for your insight. And of course, India, we were joined by Professor Jagdish and Punima Ananda. Thank you for a more contextualized and holistic analysis that gave understanding to a topic of global transformation and why it is relevant that all the stakeholders in the world partake in such a transformation, without forgetting Professor David Monda from Kenya, who joined from the United States of America, highlighting some of the complexities that the present world is still facing and why it is imperative to consider those while shaping the future world order. And thank you so much, Julia Burke, the brain behind the Expert Club, bringing together the platform for constructive analysis that will ensure that we mitigate the turbulence across the global world. And immense thank you to the technical crew, Francois, we have Adrian, and other major internal stakeholders here that ensured that the program was a success. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for trusting this platform. And we look forward to having more interesting conversations that will help to widen the horizon, that will make the world a suitable place for us all. Bye-bye.